Kirill Kaprizov rejects an NHL record offer. It will have to impact this huge 2026 free agent market, from Connor McDavid to Artemi Panarin to VGK's very own Jack Eichel, turning down this 8-year, $128 million extension might hold up a lot of the deals with this ripple effect. That is our top story on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone, from Las Vegas, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. I'm a longtime sportscaster, a marketing consultant, and the host of the new Believe in Vegas podcast. Chris, the owner of Silver State Cards and Sports and the collectibles editor for the Hockey News. Coming up ahead on today's show, in addition to our top story, Jack Eichel says he wants to stay in Las Vegas, and the NHLPA commits to better care for alumni, which is a very nice story. And coming up again, those stories and much, much more were brought to you today by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com. Why? Because the NFL season is here, and it is America's #1 sports book. So, Chris, everything goes sideways in these negotiations with Kirill Kaprizov, his contract extension. The Wild owner, Craig Leopold, as recently as last week, said, the negotiations were really nearly completed, and it was going to make the Soviet star the highest paid player in NHL history at $16 million a year AAV. First, does this stall more or less, in essence, all of the other free agent contract negotiations in this huge UFA class of 2026?
Kaprizov is going to look great in the red, blue, and yellow, and for the Shanghai Dragons,
Shanghai.
Gerard Gallant's going to get an amazing left winger on his hands when the dust settles.
At $18 million, right?
Right, God. I mean, there's so much to unpack here, and the main reason why we're going to lead with this is because Connor McDavid's contract is irrelevant. So when I say irrelevance, there's Connor McDavid, and then there's the rest of the league. Connor McDavid is that much better than everybody. Kaprizov, great player, one of the top 5-6 players in the game, just like Jack Eichel, or Eichel's maybe in the top 8 or 9, however you want to shake that out. But Kaprizov and Eichel do have some parallels. Kaprizov probably should make a little bit more than Jack Eichel, but I don't think a lot more than Jack Eichel. So that's why we're going to talk about this. And why did he turn this money down, I think, is where we start. Does he not want to stay in Minnesota for 8 years or commit to Minnesota for 8 years? The salary cap is rising. $16 million today is not nearly what $16 million is with respect to the salary cap 3 or 4 years from now. So
Right.
Maybe he would do $16 million at a 4-year deal instead of an 8-year deal. We don't know.
Yeah,
does he just not want to stay in Minnesota? Is he like, I'm done, F this place, and you can give me all the money in the world and I'm out of here? Bill Guerin, the GM of the Wild, knows this, so he puts a highball offer on the table, making it tougher for any team that wants to sign him. That'd be a brilliant move if that was the case. Does he just want more money? These are all the questions that really need to be answered. But in what world do we live in when a player turns down the richest contract in NHL history, who's never, I don't think, been out of the first round of the playoffs?
You'd have to believe. I don't believe it's the actual money. I think it's the shorter term, as you alluded to, because, again,
so
that
get $20 million then the next time he goes to free agency?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't he? Again, we've talked about this. The 4-year contracts, I think, are the wave of the future. They have to be, with the salary cap rising. And I think that this is going to impact heavily the rest of this huge 2026 class. And, Connor McDavid was even alluding to the fact that he might want to go for a shorter term, right?
2 years, 3 years, no term, all offers are on the table. All deals are on the table is exactly what he said. So you're right.
Yeah. And then the owner, Leopold, says, it's not that far off in our negotiations. Okay. I think, he's living in a different stratosphere, I think, than everyone else, because he said last week, this is just about done. And it sounds a lot like VGK. It does. And these contracts are going to be real interesting. It's going to impact the rest of this class. It has to. And I think perhaps negatively, and we'll talk in our second segment more about Jack Eichel, but I think we're going to see now a wait and see attitude from this free agent class, and then we'll see the domino effect.
The NHL is in a weird place. It does not make nearly the amount of money that the other three major sports make in the United States. And you've seen the bubbles pop. I mean, it popped once with the NHL, and there's more to it than that. But 2003 when a season got lost and canceled. And then you look at what Steph Curry makes in the NBA and what other NBA players make and football players and what they're making. And I'm not saying hockey players shouldn't make all the money that they're worth. I'm definitely not saying that. They should make that and a little bit more, hopefully.
And a bag of chips.
What's that?
Maybe make all that and a bag of chips.
Yeah, and there you go. And now, but the NHL's TV deals don't come close to what the NFL and the NBA's are. And the ticket prices, even though we feel like we pay a lot of money in Vegas to go see hockey, we really don't. Toronto pays a lot more. Edmonton pays a lot more. But then you have smaller markets, even Florida, back-to-back Cup champions. You can probably go to games very inexpensively in Florida. So the concern now, beyond the fact that how is this going to impact Eichel locally and everything, is what is the path the NHL is going down with the rising salary cap? Are they in that good of a place financially? Maybe they are. But all of a sudden you start handing out $16, $18, $19 million AAVs. That's going to change pretty quickly. It's going to change the entire game. And contracts like this are detrimental to the long-term success of teams. End of story. You can only have so many of these rich players on each roster. VGK has 2. And in the future, I don't know how they're going to balance things out. What happens to the rest of the roster? Dorothea might make it 3. But I mean, again, the rising cap will make some pressure, make some space and alleviate that pressure. But will it be enough? I don't know. And that's also the parity. And that's why it is interesting to see how the power shifts from year to year, but not really. I mean, Florida owns the East, and Colorado, Vegas, and Edmonton own the West right now. So there's a code that's kind of been cracked in some of these markets, and will that continue? I don't know. But putting a bow on this, getting it back to the Eichel side here, let's just say Kaprizov thinks he is worth more money times an 8-year deal. He thinks he's 16.5, 17.5. Eichel, if we're using Kaprizov's contract as some basis of comparison,
right, as a measuring stick,
yeah, let's say it's 16 million. Eichel is every bit of worth 14.5 to 15
without a doubt. This is definitely going to impact the entire class. And Minnesota's GM Bill Guerin late yesterday says, I don't know who leaked all of this news. BS. It wasn't us. Was it Kaprizov?
One of the two sides definitely leaked this news. There's no doubt one of the two sides leaked this news. He said
there's no way that it was his agent. He said that it definitely feels that the Wild are currently in a very positive place in negotiations. But where did this come from? Someone had to leak this news.
One of these two sides is not happy, and they leaked it intentionally, Tony. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt.
Maybe it's not that it's not that they're not happy. It's a leverage play. It's a leverage play, right? That's what they're doing. Coming up next, VGK and Kelly McCrimmon would like to think that they are close to an extension. Jack Eichel, again, no contract signed yet. We'll talk about that and much, much more on The Big Show next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure that you are ready for kickoff each and every week with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets that you could use across the board on the application. I love to use FanDuel again because it fits however you like it to be. The player props are big time. You could build that same game parlay, and you can even jump in on the live action, which is so much fun. It is quick. It is easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more energy to wherever or whenever these NFL games are played. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today. Do it by visiting FanDuel.com, and you can get started. That's FanDuel.com, and you can place your first $5 bet. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. It's always a tough day. You know, I'm a New Jersey guy, and definitely 9/11 impacted my entire life. And I think we need to shout out all of our first responders. On that day, 9/11, 2001, FDNY lost 343 people. And NYPD, 23. The Port Authority Police, 37, on and on. So it's a difficult day always. Again, even though it is 24 years later, Chris, it's hard to believe. But I think I've told a story on here last year, a couple of years ago, about one of my friends 2 weeks before this happened. He brings out a guy who's enjoying life, who's a FDNY member. And a couple of weeks later, he dies in that fire, which was really crazy. So we were just here enjoying life. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, a day like today, there's, the reason I love sports, I love this podcast and all the interactions is because it gets us away from reality. It gets us away from our everyday struggles a little bit, and just for maybe it's not the right way to say it, but we just have a little fun and forget about, what's really happening out there. But days like today, reality creeps up, and yesterday was a rough day too. So it's unfortunate, and just I guess all love to everybody. And I don't have the right words to say. I never will on days like today.
Yeah, for sure. And again, first responders are at the top of my list today. ESPN's Greg Wyshynski spoke to Jack Eichel here at the NHL Media Tour this week. And Eichel says that he would like to stay here in Las Vegas, all the right things. Said that he's not interested in testing the free agent market. Loves it here in Vegas. A lot of things to love here. And it doesn't sound like Eichel is going anywhere when you look at this. But again, enter Kaprizov into the mix. This is going to – you have leverage now. They have absolute leverage in the highest degree, these players that are free agents in this upcoming class.
And as the players should have the leverage. They're the ones out there. The players are the product. Yes, there's many more things that go into it, but at the end of the day, those putting on the crest are the ones who are generating the revenue and the TV deals and the sponsorship deals and the logos on the ice and on and on and on and on and on. So, yeah, a lot of leverage on the player side right now. And Eichel certainly has leverage in this circumstance, but does he have as much as he thinks he does? I don't know. I mean, I know you're not just going to say, oh, Jack's replaceable, they'll go find someone else. But, well, I mean, maybe he is replaceable. And again, the hot takeaway from this segment is not Golick says Eichel is replaceable. So just give me a second. McCrimmon, McPhee have found incredible ways to keep this roster at its highest points. This has been a Stanley Cup contending team since inception. That's not going to change for 4 to 5 years, if ever, if it's going to change at some point. But so Eichel definitely, back to his comments yesterday, wants to stay in Vegas, loves the community, loves the environment, loves what he's done here and everything. And I do believe Jack wants to stay. There's no doubt in my mind Jack wants to stay here. And I think he'd be willing to sacrifice a few smidgens of his contract to do so. Not a lot, but I think he certainly will leave a little bit of money on the table, which is never a bad thing. And I don't think the Kaprizov situation is going to put a major damper in the Eichel negotiations, but it's certainly, if Jack had a magic number in his mind, if Brisson, his agent Pat Brisson, had a magic number in their mind, and then they see Kaprizov turning down the richest contract ever, maybe we can get another $500,000 times 8. Maybe we can get another $4 or $5 million off this deal. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I think that there will now be a waiting game. They're going to wait again. Like, remember, we saw the Saravelli report. Oh, Jack Eichel's going to sign first before Kaprizov. Well,
and he said Kaprizov deal should be happening not long after as well. So we'll see where
but I think the Kaprizov deal is stalling things. I think they're going to wait to see what those numbers are. And you cannot blame Jack Eichel, nor can you blame his camp right now. This is a high contract that Kaprizov turns down. Kelly McCrimmon said, we are sure that we want to keep Eichel here in our organization. So we're going to have to wait and see if that comes to fruition. But again, there's a negotiation game. They said that the contract negotiations are in the early stages. Chris, they started 2 months ago already.
Started probably a year and 2 months ago. But yeah, I mean, these conversations have been happening for a long time. And maybe once you make that comment that we're in the early stages, maybe that's the next stage. And when I say the next stage, the two sides have a conversation, whether it's in a hotel lobby bar or, upstairs over at BLT at City National Arena. And then now each side has an idea. Okay, Jack Eichel has slid his number on the table to McCrimmon. McCrimmon takes up the paper, slides a number back. See, this is why you need to watch the YouTube, guys. You're getting some real quality stuff right now. If you're on audio, that's awesome, but at least just watch that 90 seconds. That was some awesome TV right there. But point being is, if they're saying they're at the initial stages, I think the initial stages means, okay, now they're talking turkey, long story short, without all the visuals right there. Now they're getting down to it. Here's my number. How far are we? Do we meet in the middle? Which side caves in a little bit? I think that's where they are when they say they're in the initial stages.
And I think here's how it could impact the contract for Eichel. Suddenly, Eichel, instead of they're talking 8 years, term might come down. And I do not blame players for going 4 years. I cannot blame a player for going 4 years.
That's what Austin Matthews did.
Why would you go for a longer term? You talk about leaving money on the table.
Especially with the 1 year left in the CBA now. With the 1 year left, you can't sign for 8 years now.
Right. You cannot sign after this season, for 8. Yes, for 8 years. They can't. That's no longer in effect. It's 7. But big whoopee-doo. I mean, it's one less year. But there's no way. If I'm an agent right now, I'm just like, okay, our max contract's 4. 4. I would not go any higher. Why would you? Why would you go higher than a term of 4 years right now? I think that's what Kaprizov's going to come back with. He'll come back with a 4-year term, same amount of money. But again, in 4 years, if he's healthy, he comes up with maybe 22 million.
Rodney Dangerfield back to school when he's taking the test.
No respect. What are we getting at here, bro?
Yeah, no. So you said 4 earlier. It's 4. The question, like the economics guy says, I have one question in 4 parts and blah, 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 and Dangerfield. And the answer is 4. So, yeah, that's what I just saw right there. Great movie. Anyway, listen, the 4-year deals, it's interesting to see how that plays out because, of course, you're going to have some type of deterring return on your investment as time goes on, whether that's when a player turns 32 years old or when they turn 34 years old. It depends on the player, of course. So the agents, the players are going to lock up this 4-year deal at, 12, 13, 15, 16 million AAV. And then they're going to go for their next deal between 10 and 12 million AAV, which would equate to, likely a better deal if they were to sign for 8 years, depending on, because the longer the deal, theoretically, the lower the AAV should get. That should benefit the team a little bit more. But now Kaprizov's like, I don't know about that. The richest contract ever? No thanks, bro. No thanks. I'll see you in Shanghai.
Of course, and Eichel's saying all the right words. Eichel said that he wants to prepare for the season.
Eichel has
as a player, he did have some words, and he said he wants to prepare for the season. That's first and foremost.
We got some comments out of this. We got some interviews. That's good, right?
Yes, absolutely. Coming up next, looking out for their own, the NHL Players Association and the Alumni Association, the NHL, the league. They unveiled a new health and wellness plan yesterday. We'll tell you about it next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Most people cannot name all their financial accounts or what they are worth, whether it's a 401k or multiple 401ks, properties, investments, all of that. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. So that's why there's Monarch Money today. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool, and it brings your entire financial life together in all one clean, easy-to-use interface. And you could do it on your laptop or your phone. Don't have to get out those stinking spreadsheets. You can link all your accounts to Monarch immediately. Use Spot like I do, a few subscriptions, many subscriptions that you're not aware of. Forget to cancel those after 10 days. Canceling those alone can save money each and every month. So think about that. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use that promo code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com. And you could do it in your browser right now. You'll get half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Tomorrow's WTF Day. Line up all of your comments, please. Looking forward to that show every week, but still can't believe how quickly these weeks go by. And of course, it's the big fight weekend here in Las Vegas.
Fight capital of the world. Beach to it.
It is the boxing capital of the world. Boxing capital of the world. And, you know, this story that we're talking about next, it's a real important one for the future of alums, players that played the game. And it's about providing health care for players long after their playing careers are done. In boxing, there is no pension plan. There's pension, yes, in the National Hockey League, but some of the players definitely fall on some hard times, let's face it. And this is a program that intends to help them out. The league, of course, the union, the NHL Alumni Association, put a lot of thought into this uniform approach, if you will. They unveiled yesterday the Retired Players Emergency Healthcare and Wellness Fund. And it's important, again, for the future of players who a lot of leagues, they forget about after their days are over. And this is a step in the right direction for all parties involved.
Comments like it's Christmas Day for us were made, and the NHL career, it's a short career, but a long life, and they don't kind of collide at times. That's what Glenn Healy, the president of the NHLPA Alumni Association, stated about all of this. And it's good to see, right? I mean, we've had, as far as in real time, players entering player assistance programs to get help that they need for various issues. And then when they leave the game, there's care waiting for them. I know people are going to say, well, they make all this money. They can't, how come they can't afford this? They need this help. Well, there's a lot of money to go around in the NHL. And it's good that they're, for lack of a better term, chopping some money aside to care for players once they're out of the game and, know how their financial situations are and everything. And it's good that there is care to quality of life, if you will, care to a better life once your career is over. And it's good to know that there's help waiting for you, I guess.
It's not a ton of money, but it is, however, some seed money and a terrific start. I'd like to see them maybe in the future start to take some revenue. And again, this is for right now, currently, the players that might have made $1,600 in their career instead of $16 million. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. So the NHL and the Players Association are each going to commit, or they've committed, $2 million apiece. So that is $4 million annually to help out the former players. And it is a good beginning. It is. It really is. It's not a ton of money, but it's going to help out some of the players. And hopefully it's not one of those plans where they just help a select few, where they can really help out a lot of those in need.
Yeah, they mentioned the 0405 work stoppage and how moments like that maybe are where something like this comes from. And again, it's all about caring for the players. I mean, we talked in the first couple of segments about how much money is being thrown around as far as contracts and things like that. Well, there's enough money coming in the league for someone like Kaprizov to say no thanks to that type of money. So it's good that there's money being set aside. And like we said, the players now are certainly on a different financial level as players who were even just 20 years ago and 10 years ago. The players who are, in their 40s and 50s and such now that played the game in the late 90s and stuff like that. So these are the ones that I think for the moment this money is designed for. And that's a good thing because they made pennies on the dollar based on what the current players are making.
And the way that they're going to divvy this up, $2 million to the Emergency Assistance Fund and $2 million for resources for those suffering through financial hardships. So they do have a really good plan in the future, even if it's 0.5%, 1%, what have you, out of every contract should go towards looking after your own in the league. Not everyone is making that huge money in a contract. No. And even if they are, they still could be struggling through some other financial hardships that we don't know about. So they definitely have to look after their own.
For sure. And it is kind of strange alluding to people who were millionaires at one time struggling financially. But the reality is everyone struggles. It doesn't matter what your financial situation is. It doesn't matter, whether you make 100,000, a million a year, whatever. It's irrelevant. People do have struggles. And the end of the press release here, we take care of our own. No one will walk alone. It's a pretty solid statement right there. And yeah, $4 million a year, is it a lot of money? In the grand scheme of things, yes and no, but it adds up. Hopefully they don't use the entire money, and $4 million a year becomes, over, 20 million in a few short years, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's terrific. And again, they're taking care of retired players and players that definitely need assistance. Not everyone made the bag or secured it. If you're out and about today, definitely do us a favor and if you see a first responder, please thank them for all their service. Without them, we might not be here right now, all of us. So definitely appreciative of them. Tomorrow is WTF Day right here on this show. And definitely check that out. And definitely subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. And make comments. We like all the comments, good, bad, indifferent, what have you. That's what we're here for. For my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco reporting from Las Vegas. You have a great day, everyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Locked On Golden Knights.